This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, June 3. In Squiz Kids today, Melbourne lockdown extended. Teenager fights off bear to save her dogs. Aussies arrive for Olympics and the fastest kid in the world. That's what's making news, kid style.
The Lowdown.
Oh, Melbourne. Melbourne. We had our fingers and toes and everything else crossed for you, but that dastardly coronavirus has gone and messed up everything again, with the announcement yesterday that lockdown in the Victorian capital, which was supposed to end at midnight tonight, will be extended for at least another 7 days. So sorry for you all. For Squiz Kids in Melbourne, it means another 7 days of no school, staying indoors, wearing masks outdoors, and no visitors to your homes, as authorities try to contain the pesky new variant of the virus, which moves more quickly from person to person than previous strains. On the upside, Squiz Kids in regional Victoria are free from lockdown from midnight tonight. Yay! Provided today's round of testing continues to show that areas outside of Melbourne remain COVID-free. Fingers crossed. And look, while we know it's small consolation, this extra week of lockdown for Melbourne kids means an extra week to have your voice heard on Squiz Kids as part of our brand new segment, My Lockdown Life. Keep listening to find out how.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in California in the United States, where a 17-year-old has fought off a mother bear to save her puppies. Hayley Morinico was gardening in her Los Angeles home on Monday afternoon when her dogs started going crazy. She ran to see what the fuss was all about, thinking there must have been another dog in her yard, only to see a large bear climbing the fence and swatting its big clawed paw at her puppies. Acting on instinct, Hayley ran at the bear and shoved it off the fence before scooping up her puppies and running inside. She later told reporters that if she'd had time to think too much about it, she probably wouldn't have been so brave. But her own mother bear instinct kicked in, and nothing was going to hurt her fur babies. And yes, there's a link to video of the heroic effort in today's episode notes.
Sport time.
And it's games on for the Australian women's softball team, who have this week become the first international athletes to fly to Japan for the Olympics. The opening ceremony is still almost 2 months away, but the Aussie spirit, as the women's softball team is known, will stay in a purpose-built athletes camp north of Tokyo in full training mode before the games begin. Assuming, of course, they do. Tokyo is still in a state of emergency as COVID cases in the country continue to climb. All of the Aussie team, though, have been vaccinated and will be prevented from leaving their training camp. Wow, lucky them. Meanwhile, Queensland's hopes for victory in the state of origin took a hit yesterday with confirmation that star fullback Kalen Ponga would not be lining up for the Maroons next Wednesday night. Remember how we told you the other day that all eyes were on his groin injury? Yeah, well, it hasn't improved any, and the Newcastle Knight will have to sit this one out.
Biggest, furthest, longest.
Here's a name you'll want to commit to memory. Erriyon Knight. Now why is that? Because at the age of 17 years old, the sprinter from America has run 200 metres in 20.11 seconds, breaking a record that was set by Usain Bolt 18 years ago. The kid from Florida was running back in the field at the 100-metre mark, then seemed to accelerate with the speed of a superhero to take the race and set a new record for his age. It means the teenager can now trial for the US Olympic team. And if he makes that team, he will become the youngest person in almost 60 years to run for America at an Olympics. And amazingly, he's only been running at a competitive level for 2 years. Before that, he was just a really fast football player. Maybe it's not too late for me to break a Usain Bolt record too. Pfft, as if.
My lockdown life.
Today is your last chance to get your answers in before tomorrow's special episode of My Lockdown Life, Week 1. And here's a sneak peek of some of the answers we're getting to question 4. I'll let Nina and B introduce it.
What's the silliest and most fun thing that your family has done during any lockdown?
Me and my family usually make rib gold bag machines.
We made a blooper reel of trying to do something for my school in lockdown, and we thought that was really funny because it was just constant loops of the same hilarious videos.
We like to tell each other jokes and play games. Go into a big family ball on the couch. We did do it. Don't think we do it the other day, Mum, with Dad and Joe and me.
And a big thank you to Nina and B, as well as Elfie, Joel and Abby for their answers to today's question. I wonder what other awesome things Squiz Kids have done during lockdown. Well, you can let us know today. We've stuck the 5 questions we want you to answer, if you're a Victorian Squiz Kid, in today's episode notes. Just record yourself answering those questions and email the audio file through to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. And Melbourne kids will have a new set of questions just for you in next week's episodes.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What large, furry creature did a woman fight off in California to save her dogs? That's right, it was a bear. Question number 2. The Australian women's sports team that has arrived in Tokyo for the Olympics play which popular sport? Yeah, it's softball. Question number 3. How many metres did super-fast American teenager Erriyon Knight run in 20.11 seconds? Yeah, it was 200 metres.
Shout outs.
It's June 3, World Bicycle Day. Do you know in some countries there are more bicycles than cars, and people there rely on bikes to get them around every day in the same way that we rely on cars here in Australia? It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Indigo from Fingal Bay, Leo from Sydney, Odette from Granville, Simon from Murray, Lucia from Mapleton, Hayley and Matthew from Frankston, Hayden from Albany Hill, Lucy from Cloncurry, May from Galston, Simon from Cannon Hill, Toby from Wallumbilla, and Yasmin from West Wallsend. And today's classroom shout-outs go to Mrs. Mosey's 4M class at Naranga Public Primary, Miss Greco's class at Carnaby Rise Primary School, Class 6B and Mrs. Barry from Berwick Lodge Primary School, Mrs. Margot and Room 9 at the Community Magnet Charter School in Los Angeles, California, and Class 4B at Bell Primary School in Melbourne, who are in lockdown. don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.